Hi, this is Kyle Piercy with UNDathletics.com. I'm sitting down with volleyball coach Jason Reed. We're just a couple of days away from the 9th annual Mizuno Midwest Volleyball Crossover. Coach, before we jump into the crossover action, let's talk a little bit about the first half of the season. It's been up and down for you and your program. You've had some highs and some lows, some growing pains along the way, played some tough competition. You know, what are your thoughts so far on the opening half of the season?
Well, like you said, it's been a battle. We've kind of seen a little bit of the ups and downs. Through all of it, we kind of find ourselves right in the thick of it. We're 5-4 and sitting at third in our side, and although we'd like to have a few of those matches back, we can't get them back. We just got to kind of keep taking the lessons that we're getting from each of those matches. And actually, over the course of the last couple of weeks, we've seen some pretty good growth with the team. Not necessarily in terms of wins and losses, but the execution is increasingly becoming more consistent, and we're happy with what we've got there. So we're still building, and we haven't hit our peak yet, and that's definitely a positive thing.
And maybe just a few individuals along the way. I know you've worked with a lot of different lineups, and you're kind of seeing what works and maybe what doesn't work as well. Who's kind of stood out to you? I know Katie Voles has had a consistent year. Casey Sawyers has stepped up. So who are some of the individuals for your squad that have kind of stepped up in this opening half of the season?
Definitely those two. Casey leads us in kills per set, and Katie Voles kind of night in, night out has had a pretty high hitting percentage, and so she's been a real positive player for us. Anna Fairbach really has had a pretty good year in terms of point production. Her hitting percentage isn't quite there, and as a freshman, she's kind of going through some learning as how to put the ball on the floor on the other side. But her numbers have been good in terms of the kills. Becca's been pretty consistent for us, and although we'd like to get her going a little bit more in terms of production, she really hasn't had the highs and lows. She's really kind of been consistent. So that's something that we know that we can rely on. Now it's just a matter of getting her a few more points here and there along the way.
And talking just a little bit about the crossover, 3 tough matchups, all against GLIAC opponents. You start with Lake Erie on Friday, and you'll finish with Hillsdale and Grand Valley, the 5th and 4th seeded teams in the GLIAC. So, what do you know about these opponents? I know you don't get too much time to really scout them, but I know you've also seen both, especially the Lakers and the Chargers have had some contact with them in your time here at UND. So, what do you see from those programs this year, and what kind of challenges we all face?
Well, with Lake Erie, that's brand new for us, especially since I've been here. Haven't seen them, and I think kind of certainly nothing against them, but they're kind of a surprise to be in the top half. That I know they haven't been there in quite a while, and so they're playing some really good volleyball, and that's going to be a heck of a match for us on Friday. As you mentioned with Hillsdale and Grand Valley, we've seen them quite a bit. We know 2-storied programs, 2 well-coached programs. And oddly enough, our assistant coach played at Hillsdale and then now has coached at Grand Valley, so maybe that's a little bit of an advantage for us that she's going to be able to give us a few ins and outs and of each of those teams and maybe some things to kind of look for. And at the end of the day, no matter who we play, we need to make sure that we're still kind of worrying about our side. We know that we're going to get 3 great matches. They're going to be prepared. They're going to be ready to play us, and all we really can control is what we do. We've got to make sure we're prepared for them. And then keep working on consistency on both of those days, and it's going to be a big weekend. We kind of feel like as we are kind of going up the mountain here and really close to turning a corner, this could be a real big weekend for us. And as we hopefully have some success this weekend, it could catapult us into kind of a big stretch. So this is a big weekend for us.
Yeah, and you mentioned that success could turn into bigger and better things. It's never too soon to start kind of looking at that NCAA landscape, and they do look at these region matches. The committee looks at these region matches, as kind of the cornerstone of the schedule. So, I mean, how much emphasis do you put on that to the players, or do you just kind of treat it as these are 3 more matches and we're going to try to get 3 wins? Or, I mean, how much weight do you put on the fact that these are regional wins and, they might be weighed heavily more than some of the non-conference, non-region matches?
It depends on the team. This year's team, last year's team a little bit, they liked being prepared. They liked to understand why this match was an important match. And as a coach, they're all important. And even as a player, they're all important. But being able to kind of explain, well, hey, this is kind of what happens over the course of the season seems to help prepare our girls. We let them know a little bit, and not in a do or die situation or anything like that. That's life and death. We still have to go out and play volleyball. But we let them know a little bit of what kind of the implications are, and some of the upperclassmen, do a good job. Becca, the other day in practice, kind of explained, hey, this is what this crossover thing is, and And for the people that haven't been here, that can be valuable information. So we don't stress on it. We still got to make sure we're worried about us. But then it's also a good reminder of like, oh, okay, well, that's what this thing means. So we tell them.
All right, Coach. Well, good luck this weekend. Good luck at the crossover and also in the second half of the season. I'm sure we'll be talking with you again before the conference tournament. But until then, stay tuned for all the UND volleyball and the rest of the UND athletics news on UNDathletics.com. Thanks for watching.